Okay, welcome back to the Pure Signal podcast. I'm Jake Carter, Chief Innovation Officer at Cordera, along with, as always, Kevin Erickson, our North America CEO. And it is day 4 of CES now, and we're doing something a little bit different this morning. We invited a special guest today so that for once you don't have to just listen to us. You can actually hear from other experts, so you can hear what others who are at CES are hearing, seeing, experiencing, thinking about. So this morning we are joined by Heather, who is Executive Vice President at Critical Mass, which, if you don't know, is a long-standing, very well-regarded digital agency out of Canada. They have been, among other things, I want to say a continual finalist or repeated finalist on Campaign USA's Digital Agency of the Year. And I know this year, I believe you are a finalist for Best Use of AI in Digiday, right?
Correct. Yes, we are.
Well, if you don't mind, Heather, tell us a little bit about who you are, and we'll pepper you with some questions, see what you've been seeing.
Love it. Thank you for having me. So I am Heather Livengood. I lead all things growth for Critical Mass. I've been with the team for, it feels like I grew up at the agency. I've been here since 2019, been with Omnicom for quite a bit. And I'm currently doing a lot of things at Critical Mass, but here recently I've just transitioned back onto the AT&T business. So that is essentially my day job. And I work in an Omnicom position leading all things performance, precision marketing, and digital innovation. So we're in a state of change on that business, which is really exciting, and in the process of kind of restructuring how that business, both on the Omnicom side, is structured and how we can better integrate and partner. Just collaborate and drive better business outcomes on one of our key accounts for Omnicom.
So I know one of the things that falls under your purview and your role in AT&T is you kind of play a chief strategy role. So to lead in here, if you don't mind, what is top of mind for you as you're here this week? What are you looking for? What are you trying to see as pertains to what you're doing with AT&T?
Well, I'm really here looking at the AI-enabled lawnmowers, because there's a lot of those.
There are a lot of those.
If you haven't seen those, there's also a Roomba that can climb stairs.
I saw that as well. Yeah.
There's a Roomba that can climb stairs and can pick up your shoes. But no, I think, we talk a lot, not only at AT&T, but, at Critical Mass at large, around redefining what performance is. Do we even want to call it performance anymore? I feel performance has so much baggage in the industry. So we actually on the team are starting to intentionally call it precision. That carries a slightly different weight, slightly different meaning. And especially when you start talking about how we're activating that in market, it's very signal based. It leans more into ecosystem, time, place. What are you putting into market for when, for whom, there's a lot of different ways to unpack that. It's, all of a sudden it's not just your lower funnel performance marketing banner advertising anymore. And I think you're seeing that in spades, when you walk the show floor, because everything is like your connected devices now. It's not just around like, hey, look at AI and how it works. It's like, hey, AI is a product now. And like, look at how all of these products are connected. And now look at how, hey, Jake, out in the world, like you can walk into your home and all of these devices immediately are talking to you and picking up all of these signals that you're sending. Like those expectations now for you as a consumer are incredibly high. And how are brands now going to lean into, take advantage of all of those signals and lean into, the expectations of personalization are incredibly high. The stakes are way higher now. So there's just so much coming out of CES. I feel like when I walked around, like every demo, every, build out was exactly that. So it's just like, what do you do with that? So there's a lot. There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah. I think what's, my experience, not only like walking the floor this week, similar and just, just even part of what we've been talking about in this forum for, many months now. Again, it's like AI is everywhere. It's in every single thing. So now, but it's continuing to elevate in the business context. So now I come back to our clients, we have to say, well, now you got to do what you got to do with it, And so, and what is it look like this year? So when you think about either your role at AT&T or maybe your broader role around growth, what are some of those like themes of like, how do we take, and I'm not certain, everyone's going to need their own with their pick up shoes or even,
Yes, we need that. I need that.
And well, I'm not certain, or, what country that Roomba is owned by anymore, but it's like, it's like how that works, and they won't be allowed to pick up shoes. But I think it's going to be, I think one thing of our clients and just in my own conversations, it's really around how do you leave this event? You guys may have had more fun than I did last night, but I was with a client last, and we were talking a lot about, actually some of the things that you guys have done at AT&T in the last 6 months, and just using that as a frame for, interestingly enough, thinking about AI lawnmowers. That was part of the working with the Kohler team and thinking about some of their engines and elements of that. But they're trying, just using that as an example, how do we actually use it? How do we prioritize it? I mean, how is it just not hype anymore, but executives are being asked, boards are asking, what are you doing? So when you think of how we advise AT&T, or we think about growth in general, where are you advising your clients as you start the year?
Wow. I mean, it's no longer just like AI for AI's sake. I mean, we were there a couple of years ago where it's just like, I want to win some awards for just like a cool thing with a partner. And it's like, yeah, I mean, we still have some of those conversations, and there's still a lot of creative opportunity to do things like go in and break the platform or hack the platform. But there's definitely an underlying, do it in service of the business. There are ways to do that now. And I think it's more of being able to unpack behind the scenes, how to connect all of those signals. And there's a lot of emphasis being placed on how are you connecting all of those data sources. On AT&T, we're spending so much time right now on, to fully take advantage of what AI can offer you. You have to have your stack fully stitched together. Are all of the data sources talking together to be able to take advantage of what the full Adobe suite is bringing to the table? And clients are, just completely paralyzed when it comes to that sort of stuff. And do you have the right people and partners at the table that can kind of guide you through that? And, when you're talking about, large clients like an AT&T or, these very big enterprise accounts who, obviously, they work with Omnicom in a big capacity, but they're not exclusively with Omnicom. They work with a lot of different partners. So there's a lot of different voices and stakeholders there to wrangle and make sure that that is a seamless solution. So that's very intimidating, and it can take a while to kind of start to chip away at some of that. So
building on that a little bit, this is actually where I have a lot of excitement. Whereas you think about AI is everywhere, that's the conversation you've been. We're now back into fundamental clients. What is AT&T? Well, they need to sell something. They need to find the customer. And the tools that are allowing you to do this are just better. And it's all the things you just described. So it's actually, I have a lot of excitement going into the year because we're able to go talk to an executive team around elements of you need to know your customer. You need to do it faster. You need to grow this. And it's not about give me some AI. It's not about what it's going to do. You can actually tie it back into a real roadmap that is going back to what I would consider normal business fundamentals. So can you do it more efficient? Can you go through growth? We come here and we learn a lot about innovation. So it's really kind of freeing to me. And obviously in our business, a little bit maybe different than critical mass is all the stitching together the data and all that. It's kind of our core business. And we're kind of now we actually have a banner. We've seen this, we're selling stuff that you've been trying to sell for a number of years, and all of a sudden it's just now table stakes. And so that's been going on for a while now, but it's just it's freeing to have these conversations with our clients about you can go do things faster in ways that you just couldn't imagine, in terms of all this, AT&T, it's made up of thousands of companies that make up AT&T. I can only imagine that 99% of the conversation is well, if I go down to the at some point I'm getting down to the Mama Bells, and it's you're just like that, just because such constraint. And I think AI is allowing people just to kind of skip all that constraint, and that'd be a good place.
If you don't mind, let me pose one more question for you. So part of the reason that we've been here at CES, doing the podcast here at CES, is to share some of the insights that we're getting with folks who aren't here. So if you put your head of growth role hat on, what are the takeaways for you? What are the things that you would go tell your team members that maybe they need to know coming out of this event? Obviously the AI, we've talked a lot about that, but is there anything that you're oh wow, growth team, as you're working this year, based on what I'm seeing out here, this needs to be top of mind for you? Anything like that come to mind?
Yeah, I think we're already talking about it this way at Critical Mass, but the way in which you approach a client's, ecosystem and the way that you ultimately deliver work for them has to change. And I think that what you're seeing here this week just fully proves that. It's no longer tackling things in channel. We have at Critical Mass, we have the ability to actually activate everything end to end. We have creative, we have marketing science, we have media, we have everything kind of all under one roof, which is incredible. So we have a team that can actually stitch all of that together. But we are just over the last year or so, we've really like doubled down on like rethinking about the narrative and that go-to-market approach of like, how can we actually break that silo down? How can we brief differently? How can we actually start working differently? How can we bring that seamless solution to the client? And I think, based off of everything I've seen, like, it's a lot of validation that like where we're already going and the conversations we're having with the client is like, we're there. We need to throw gas on that. And we need to encourage our clients to break the silos down because our clients aren't there yet. Our clients are still incredibly siloed. And it's the nature of the beast. And I think that's where they need partners like us collectively. And I think, just the power of like what we do within OPM and, what a lot of what I've done in the roles that I've had on, what I'm doing at AT&T, what I did with driving that integration across, Critical Mass, Credera, Wrap, to just like kind of bring that capability together and blur the lines a little bit around what we do and just being able to encourage our clients to do the same. That's where we're going to win. But we kind of have to lead at the front.
I love that. I think you're spot on. Well, I think that's actually probably a very natural place to pause. So let me wrap us by saying, Heather, thank you so much for spending a couple minutes of your very, very busy week here, sharing your insights. We're very grateful to have you. And for everyone else, again, this is the Pure Signal Podcast, day 4 of CES. And don't worry, there's more to come.